But while I was in the King's Chamber and sort of felt the call to go outside of that flower of life, I was taken on a astral journey all through the galaxy. And I don't talk about it very often, but
I love it.
And I had kind of in a bizarre way, there was like someone there to help guide me.
Yes.
And this being was Arcturian. They're not even with a physical body. They are more like spirit, as we would consider spirit. They're like these blue spirit, but you could see the outline of their faces and everything. They look humanoid. And in fact, they call themselves humans. Wow. They're just not bounded by time.
I just seen something fly past your shoulder. I don't know if it was a bug or an orb.
Really?
Yeah, just now in the film.
Wow, I did not know that. But yeah, definitely have had lots of interesting experiences the last few years since I went to Egypt. And even before then, I started getting kind of a lot of new information related to mathematics and physics and stuff that I probably had never really spent a lot of time studying. It just started coming in. That's how the Akashic field works, right? It's once you tap in and you catch the frequency of it, then you can sort of tap into higher, sometimes mystical knowledge.
That's right.
And of course, it's hard for anyone who's never experienced that to understand that, which is kind of an interesting rate limiter, I guess, on universal consciousness and the speed of it. You kind of have to find it on your own and experience it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to kind of comprehend.
Did you have any encounters when you were in there and you're spending the night, or hearing some type of paranormal activity?
Well, I had in 2018, when I was by myself in the Great Pyramid, I laid in the sarcophagus for about 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And I looked up and I noticed the flower of life on the ceiling.
Wow.
Like lighted, and it was kind of like, it looked like rainbow colors.
Yes. And
I was really surprised to see it, first of all, but then I wasn't surprised also. It was like I knew that it was going to be that way, and something told me to go up through the hole. So I went up through the hole on the ceiling, which is 19.1 inches or 19.2 inches high, feet. Okay. And I went through the hole, and all of a sudden the flower of life like opened up. It like rotated and then opened, and then I could see stars.
Wow.
Like I was out of the building, right? I was out. And a lot of people don't know, the King's Chamber is made of granite. And the speed of sound is 343 meters per second. That's about 740 miles an hour.
Wow.
Okay. So that's why when a jet from the military flies over, you can sometimes hear a sonic boom. As soon as it breaks that speed of sound barrier, you'll hear this boom kind of sound. Yes. Well, what's interesting is that the speed of sound through different media is different. So, the speed of sound, there's no such thing as sound in a vacuum, supposedly, right? There's not supposed to be, because it needs a medium to propagate the wave.
Yes.
Well, granite is probably the fastest recorded speed of sound. If it's through air, 343 meters, right, per second, then it is through granite, 6,000 meters per second. Okay, so when you're inside the King's Chamber, sound is traveling much, much, much faster than it is when you're outside of it. So there's something special with granite. It's very brittle. It's a crystal. It's a giant crystal. So it has a resonance frequency associated with it, just as everything does. But while I was in the King's Chamber and sort of felt the call to go outside of that flower of life, I was taken on a astral journey all through the galaxy. And I don't talk about it very often, but
I love it.
And I had kind of in a bizarre way, there was like someone there to help guide me.
Yes.
And this being was Arcturian. And they are genius mathematicians. And they kind of laugh at our limited view of mathematics.
I believe it.
It's kind of a joke for them. I mean, they don't mean it in a hateful way. It's just, it's sort of funny for them, right?
Makes sense.
As we will probably think of mathematics in the far future, right? We'll kind of look back and go, oh yeah. It was funny, somebody said to me the other day when I was explaining to them that after I got back from Egypt, I became a straight vegetarian. I stopped eating any meat. And this guy was a meat eater, and he says to me, he's like, you know what, I'm convinced in 40 years, people are going to look back and say, wow, we used to eat animals. Can you believe that?
I love that. Love that. That's good. So true.
So true, right? I think we'll think of the same way about math.
Right.
We'll think, oh, mathematics is this, and actually it's something totally different. It's a language. It's a universal language. And so they took me to Arcturus, they took me to Pleiades, they took me to Sirius, all around the Boots and the Orion Spur, right? So Boots constellation as well as the Orion Spur. And it was about 4 hours, this journey. And it felt like I was gone for a really long time. And it was bizarre because I remember the moment that I came out of my body, and I'd never done that before.
Right.
It just happened that fast. Like, it wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm going to come out of my body like in that movie Ghost or something, right?
Yeah, Ghost.
It wasn't like that. It was like in a blink of an eye, I went from being inside my body to looking down at my body.
Wow.
And I was at the top of the room. It wasn't like I made this transition and then I had to make the decision to go out or stay in. And I made the decision to go out. And I remember thinking, well, what if I didn't make the decision to go out? But, you know, that lasted for an instant. But I knew that I was there for a reason.
That's right.
And so I went all around, and he answered questions for me. And they're not even with a physical body. They are more like spirit, as we would consider spirit. They're like these blue spirit, but you can see the outline of their faces and everything. They look humanoid. And in fact, they call themselves humans. Wow. They're just not bounded by time.
That's right. It's like some of those that got their rainbow bodies into Tibet, or they broke the matrix system in that type of way. And also when you say, I like that the language of math is the universal consciousness language, where in the Bible, when they get the tongues, the lingua, the glossia, it's actually the universal consciousness language, the language of angels, the language of all men, and it's the math.
Yeah, it's all math. It's all math and geometry. Geometry is just it's visible music.
That's right. It's like the movie Lucy on binary code. When I'm doing aerokinesis and how everything works at binary code, if I'm actually vibrating at 777, it's 1.777 for binary code. It is the creation starts to respond. The plants, the system will start to open itself up. And you posted an Instagram post when the observer, it just showed like a consciousness orb. At the moment someone looks away, it continues the brainwave patterns as if it's left on autopilot. And when I actually showed some teachings, I showed them, hey, look at the, we have an attention span of 3 to 4 seconds. Stare at the leaves and listen to the crackling sound and feel the wind. And the moment they do that and they're conscious of it, they start to have a connection. And if the person's thinking and feeling real, intimate love, unconditional, then they start to have harmonization with their environment and their bioelectric field. The Merkaba starts to expand. And it's an amazing training to show if we could keep the eye single, so we won't have chaotic program thought life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, we are now in a new age, right? We're in a new age of Aquarius. And just last week, I discovered this, which is related to, you know, that new age. So more on the Vitruvian Man. I'd already found that, you know, this relates to the positioning of where the square is and everything is